Hi, my name's Wade Dillingham, and I'm the Assistant Professor of Saxophone, Clarinet, and Director of Jazz Activities at Louisiana Tech University. I've been performing with New Music on the Bayou for 2 years, and I'm going into my third season. Every year, New Music on the Bayou is one of my favorite things I get to do. It's such a joy to meet composers and perform a variety of new music, and to hear the composers' process and ideas and thoughts on their own scores while you're working on realizing them. It's different than when you get a piece of music in the mail and you learn it, or you're watching recordings and learn it. To get to hear from the composer is a much more intimate and enjoyable space to be in. This year, I have the joy and privilege of having work that I've commissioned being a part of the festival. The work, The Center of My Universe by John Roche, is written as a celebration of parenthood and in memoriam of my late mother that I lost when I was in graduate school. And I consider it to be just an incredible honor to have the opportunity to perform a piece so near to me for my peers and colleagues. And I think that it's going to be a real joy for the audience. I personally intend for the piece to be a chance for people to reflect on those relationships of family that are so shaping, formative, and important to people in our lives. And I hope that they'll reflect on those experiences and take them as one of life's great consolations and find some joy and peace.
So how did we get to write this piece in the first place? I knew Wade all the way back, I think it was about 2020, when I was a Tanglewood Fellow. Wade was working at the Tanglewood Music Centre, and we've spent a long time talking about making a piece of music since then. We've been lucky enough to get a Northeast Louisiana Arts Council grant that supported part of the creation of this work, and we're also lining up some performances in the US and the UK to make sure this piece really gets out there and all sorts of people hear it. Really excited to have it in New Music on the Bayou because it's such a big thing, such an important way to share music between the UK and the US. I think I know a lot of my colleagues here have their pieces played there too. And in fact, I remember someone who I was a Tanglewood Fellow with at the same time, Angela Slater. You should check out her music. Remember, she had a piece done at New Music on the Bayou. So it's somewhere where we see a lot of British and UK composers have their music performed as well. So really wanted to have that there to make sure we were marking this in a really fun and exciting way. We're really excited to hear this piece of music in the UK as well. It's got 2 performances lined up in Wales so far, with a few more slated. But we're really excited just to bring it over here and have Wade perform and show you this really lovely concerto. The piece as a whole is really, really different. And I think that's something really exciting too. The first movement has this huge soaring melody. It's lots of quintuplets, lots of crazy changes, lots of quavers or eighth notes, I think you call them in the years. The second movement is this sort of traditional slower movement in some ways, but I play on it a little bit by fracturing it and doing unusual things with it. But it's definitely some much needed contrast. And the final movement is this big sort of mystical prayer-like moment. It has these lovely sonorous sounds that sort of boom through the whole. And I think together you hear a really enormous range of what a saxophone can do. And you hear the incredible virtuosity that Wade has on the instrument. And it sounds awesome. So you should make sure you come and see it.
I met Dave 5 or 6 years ago when I was working at Tanglewood while he was a fellow. And Dave is one of those just kind and joyful people that when you meet, I think he's an easy friend to make, and we were quick friends. And as the festival went on, and I had the opportunity to listen to his music on several occasions and see him work and talk to him about creating music, I thought, man, this is somebody that I want to have a piece from, and that I want the saxophone repertoire to have works from. And we talked about it and chatted about having a piece for several years, and finally we got together on a commissioning project where we won a grant from the Northeast Louisiana Arts Council. And the Center of My Universe is the fruit of that labor. And ultimately the work is going to be a concerto for saxophone and band or orchestra. And we're working on several performances around the world. And it's been a project that's just bloomed, and I hope is going to continue to do so. The things about David's music that I find so captivating, first, is color and timbre. I think he has a lovely rhythmic gesture, very playful, lovely use of hemiola, and then these just bright colors that are so approachable and lovable. And I think pieces that he writes because of this have just an approachable quality that most audience members are going to find just thoroughly enjoyable. And for me to have a piece like that written as a memoriam and as a celebration of life and the family and my mother personally, I'm so overjoyed. I can't begin to state how excited and happy I am to be able to play a work like this for all the people at New Mexico on the Bayou and people abroad and at home. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.
There are lots of different challenges when it comes to putting together a saxophone concerto. I think with any concerto, you're always considering the player first and what they can do and what they like to do. Everyone will always say they can play anything at all, right? And most concerto players can. And Wade is certainly amazing and will play anything you give him, right? But what you really want to do is meet them in the middle. You don't want to make a player feel obligated to play anything you're giving them. You don't want them to feel like they're playing something ridiculous for the sake of it. You want it to be well written and tailored to their stylistic sensibility. Something that they can get into, something that they would play beautifully and fantastically, something that means something to them. There's obviously the element that this is a memorial piece for Wade's mum as well. So we had to make sure that that element was adhered to, when I was writing the piece. So it has to be sensitive in that way. It is particularly personal to Wade, I would say. So all the way through, I was thinking about how I could sort of be respectful to the memorializing aspect of the piece while also, showing off Wade's playing. And you get plenty of chance to do that. You have these solemn melodies, and in the final movement you have people often joke that my music is just solid eighth notes, but there is a cadenza that really is just like 80 bars of solid eighth notes and nothing else in one instrument, and it sounds amazing. Well, I think I would say that, wouldn't I? But I think part of what makes it really convincing is it having integrity to the thing that I write, but it also being the correct moment structurally for a concerto, but also expressively the right moment to say something in the context of a piece of music that is about remembering someone or memorializing someone. So I think you're always thinking about these different things and how they interact when you're making a concerto. And that's what makes it fun and that's what makes it exciting. I think Wade has made this piece of music incredibly easy to write. He's very good at bringing people together. He's very good at working with different people. He's very good at playing the saxophone. Obviously, that's the main one, right? But I think that it does make a difference when someone really wants to. I think it really does make a difference when someone wants to really be involved in the creation of the piece in a really serious and meaningful way. It's obvious that he's deeply interested in having this work created and performed. So it makes you work harder to create something that really respects that. I think that's the dream really when you're writing something, is to have it taken seriously and have it really performed to the nth degree. And it makes a huge difference. The best pieces of mine are often for the people who are most passionate, really. Because there's such an interpretive skill in playing something. When people want to play something, they will search for the beautiful sound that they can find within it, and often pave over some mistakes that the composer may have made. Not me, mind you, all my music's perfect. But another composer may have written a piece of music that perhaps doesn't work as sleekly as they'd liked. And a great player can make anything sound gorgeous. And that's part of the skill of it, is meeting between you to ensure that everything in that piece of music is really, absolutely knocking spots off everything. So we've had some really lovely performances so far already with Wade's University, Louisiana Tech, and the wind band there sounded absolutely fantastic. It sounded really, really gorgeous. Wade's playing sounded amazing. It sounded really full, crisp and clear. I think I'm really excited to hear all these other performances. I'm really proud of this concerto. I'm really proud of all of the different elements of it. I think it's one of the best pieces I've ever written. And it's amazing to be able to work so closely with someone and road test something so fully.
Working with David has been a real privilege and a pleasure. And I've known David for a long time. We've been friends, but to get to work with him on a piece has been a lovely experience. and I've gotten to know the diversity of his music over this time, from sparse and introspective to grandiose and immense. His sense of rhythm and melody and color and harmony come together in these ways that create just wonderfully unique but relatable music. I think when I listen to his music, I hear lovely open sounds reminiscent of Aaron Copland. I hear a quasi-minimalism that sounds like late John Adams. I hear rock rhythms that make me think of, other current composers like Viet Quang. So I'm immensely excited to perform this piece by him and to bring something like that to the saxophone repertoire. And I think that David's music has a lot to say, and that the audience will have a lot to hear.
What this piece does that other things might not do is it explores rhythm and sort of rock and pop structures that are central to a lot of the Welsh music I grew up playing, and treats them sincerely as artistic objects. I think the relevance of that to like a memorializing piece for someone from the US is it's all about this idea of authenticity and saying something from the heart and saying something that is really specific, that is really meaningful to an individual. So that way, when you begin to write a piece of music that is about a memorializing element or is about remembering someone, it tends to have this kind of communicative power to it, I think. It sounds a bit wishy-washy, I accept that. But writing with authenticity or writing with someone in mind really gives you that intellectual link or that interpersonal link that allows you to see or empathize with them through the musical ideas that you create. And I think that's what gives these things the energy that matters. Common themes to my music that speak to the sensibility of who we want here are memory, determination, and grief, which are things that I often kind of like write about in different ways, but also insistence and determination. I think they're really, really important. I think they have a sensibility in that idea of like continuing after a tragedy or similar. So it's a really beautiful piece of music. I'm really proud of it. I hope you come and see it. Make sure you go and listen to Wade. He sounds fantastic. And we're going to have lots of performances. Thank you.